Shalom Aleichem, Shavot Tov Nagit Chodesh for everyone. Thank you so very much for uh, watching this video. I hope it doesn't take that much of your time, but well, it is our minhag, our custom to read Perek, a chapter from Pirkei Avot, every Saturday afternoon after Pesach, all the way through. I'm sorry, either Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. I'm not sure about that, how it works. I usually read it from from Pesach all the way through Yom Kippur. However, there are certain minhagim who only read the six chapters per Kavod until Shavuot. So, however, I prefer this minhag where we keep reading it along the whole summer because Ravanim say that well, the summer it's a time where Yetzer Hara starts working harder, and well, we need to be aware of how Yetzer Hara works. So, in such a case, the best way to keep away from sin, from transgression, it's reading Maaseh or Sifrei Musar, and all the Musar comes specifically from Pirkei Avot. So I was reading Pirkei Avot chapter 4 today, and I found this interesting explanation about one of the Mishnayot there. And I definitely think that since there are so many books in the world about Torah, sometimes we might skip or not even be aware that these wonderful explanations are available because we do not even know about the existence of such books. This one, it's a commentary to Pirkei Avot, which name is Zkhut Avot. Zkhut Avot is Masechet Avot im Perush Zkhut Avot. I am not sure who wrote this commentary, but it comes along with the Bartenura comment in this work. Yeah? So it's wonderful. It's wonderful because it explains Musar exactly as it is. Yeah, and sometimes you feel compelled and even challenged on your when it comes to your way of life, when you say like, okay, I'm right like this, I am, doing my best, and I'm giving everything, I'm struggling every single day, but wow, I mean, sometimes when it comes to Musar, it really shakes the floor. I don't know if that expression exists in English, but it's like it confronts you. You hit the wall and say like, wow, what's going on here? Yeah, and definitely, I mean, as I read this Zehut Avot, it's every Saturday I try to read as much as I can. But wow, I mean, it requires time for 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 not even understanding but grasping what the ideas and what these rules from the sages explained by the Zehut Avot uh, uh, would mean for you, and not only that, but also bringing that to real life, right? I mean, getting to practice these rules so that you can change your mind. I mean, your mind, your life, of course. So this one comes in, I said chapter 4, Pirkei Avot, Mishnah Tet Zayin, Mishnah 16. It's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Heve Zahir Talmud, be very scrupulous in studying. Here in Hebrew, it reads Talmud. So, Heve Zahir Talmud, be scrupulous, be, particular when it comes to study. Sheshigegat Talmud ola zadon. Because when you are not careful, meshoger is when something happens by accident. I mean, it's not something that happens with you knowing it's going to happen. I mean, it's not something that you will willfully do, but it's an accident. And if you are not careful in study by accident, you will you will you will be rebellious. You will rebel yourself. That means that if you're not careful with things that happen that accident, you will end doing those things willfully. Yeah. So this is what the Mishnah reads. So long story short, if you're careful with your study, with your Talmud Torah, you will prevent yourself from rebellion. But if you start to use any kind of pretext or excuse not to study, okay, so like the typical I wasn't able because I didn't have time, so eventually you will rebel yourself and things will not happen by accident, but you will willfully be doing this with your whole knowledge. So that's a short explanation of the Mishnah by myself. I mean, the words of the Mishnah are not supposed to be that difficult to understand, but definitely Mishnah needs explanation. And this one right here, it's going to open your eyes. I will not say the name that comes here because it's very dangerous. However, I will refer to this power as the first of the as the Adam's first wife, Adam's first woman, which was not Eve. All right. So if you're familiar with tradition, you will understand what I'm talking about. If you're not, then it's a good time for you to ask your questions. So the comment Zkhut Avot reads, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Heve Zahir beTalmud, Sheshigat Talmud Olah Zadon. If you're not careful, if you're not scrupulous, you will rebel yourself. Okay? We already mentioned that. Sarich Sheteda. You need to know. Ahubi, my dear. Ahubi Beni, my dear son. Asher Ravenu Zichrono Livrocha Amar, such as our rabbi, may his memory be blessed, said, Likutei Moharan Helek Aleph, Siman Ri. Shelimut Talmud, that learning Talmud, now here the explanation changes, because the Mishnah mentions Talmud as the sole action of learning, right? Studying. However, here, say it reads that learning Talmud, which is the word that the Mishnah is using, referring specifically to the Talmud, hu kemispar haklipa, Adam's first wife. Her name starts with an L. So the word Talmud and the word in Adam's first wife's name equals 12. If you put together, I mean the number values, the Hebrew letter numerical values together, and you add them all together, you will find that Talmud and Lamed, Adam's first wife's name, it's going to be the same numerical value. The number is 12. So from this, Zkhut Avot continues explaining. I'm sorry. Y que Shadam lomet Talmud, and when a person learns Talmud, hu machnia ota, he is able to overcome her. I mean, to overcome what she's trying to put into your mind. O noten la kohot, But if a person does not learn Talmud, gives her power to put her thoughts into your mind. We're talking about immoral thoughts. Hasbe shalom lanenu. Rahamanat litzlang. May Hashem help us for that not to happen. Ki Talmud kegimatria otiot shel Shema. Because I was just saying, Talmud, it's the same numerical value for Adam's first wife's name. Starts with an L and ends with a starts with an lamed and ends with a ta. Al ken yesh koach belimud betalmud. And this is the power of learning Talmud. Prevent us from receiving her thoughts into our mind and keep us away from zonut, from immorality. O lehagnia ota. But if you don't learn Talmud, you are going to give her power. Again, you're going to get closer to her. O lehefech. Ota. O lehefech. Chas v'shalom, may Hashem forbid. Y bishbil se mashirecha atana veomer. And for this, it's necessary for you to struggle according to what the master says. Zahir, be scrupulous, be careful. Yeah, milshon or hamezahir, that comes from an expression that means to struggle, to be scrupulous. Again, I mean, this is in Hebrew might be might be different words, but when you translate it, could be a little repetitive. She tilmat Talmud, because by learning Talmud, shehu kelal Torah shebal peh, which is the general ideas from the oral Torah, bit beikis atzima, with strong focus, adhering to what the Talmud teaches, ilehamshik al atzmecha or bezib, so it will continue to come for you yourself, light and shine. Beihit ibekit habore itborak shemo. And by this you will be able to adhere to Hashem, the Creator, blessed be His name. Ki al yedei limud Talmud, because by learning Talmud, יכולים להכניע את הקליפה המחתיע את האדם. By learning Talmud, you will be able to overcome the how to say this, the shells that make a person to sin by being by not being careful with his bris mila. Shegigat Talmud, because by being, I mean, continues to explain the expression, by not being scrupulous or by not caring about studying Talmud. Imhi shagag belimud beasa ta'ud kala. If a person is not careful with studying the Talmud, and by this comes to a transgression that is not that big, I mean, small transgression. Kebar ola zadon, by this will get to rebellion. Beyachol liot mazik, and this is going to be very dangerous and harmful for him. Ki be'emet kelal haTalmud hi sod emunat chachamim, because the general rule for studying Talmud, it's the secret of being faithful on the words of Chachamim. שצריכים מאוד מאוד להיזכר ללמוד הרבה Talmud. And it's necessary, very, very necessary, to be scrupulous with learning Talmud. Very much. And this means everything. Talmud Babli, Yerushalmi, Tosefta, Shehem Kelal Torah. These are the names. Talmud Babli, the Talmud from Babylon, and Talmud Yerushalmi, the one from Yerushalayim. Tosefta, which is something that comes together with a Mishnah. Shehem Kalal Torah Shebal Peh, because they are the general rules stemming from the oral Torah. Im Kol HaMidrashim, and all the Midrashim together, Kedei Haknia et HaKlipa Lelamed, with the sole purpose of overcoming the shells from Lamed, from Adam's first wife. Amahatia et Ha'adam bifkam habrid, that makes man to sin by not being careful about the breeze. Be'im adam shagag be'emunat chachamim, and if a person it's not careful with being faithful, loyal to the words, or believe in the words of chachamim, the sages, asayis levasov, then by the end he will be rebelling himself. ולכן צריכים מאוד להיזכר בהתמדת לימוד תלמוד. And this is why we should be very careful when it comes to the details about studying Talmud. ועל ידי זה ינצל מהקליפה הזו בהבן. And by this, by studying Talmud, you will be able to be to get salvation, to be delivered from the shells of transgression that come from the great sin of not being scrupulous when learning Talmud. And this will allow you to start building yourself again. So this is very interesting, because not all Jews in the world study Talmud with that kavanah. However, it is important that we retake studying Talmud. I like to say myself that studying Talmud is what gives us identity. Yeah, and not only that, but as we have learned today in this Zkhut Avot, studying Talmud will deliver us from the sins and from transgressions that are generated b'meshiga, that end in asadon, with the thoughts that Lamet puts into our heads by not being careful with studying Talmud. I really thank you so very much for your time and for your patience. I am translating directly from Hebrew to English, so maybe my translation is not that accurate. However, if you are able to find Zkhut Avot yourselves and look in chapter 4, Mishnah Tatzayin, Mishnah 16, chapter 4 of Pirkei Avot, you will find what Zkhut Avot reads about this, which is very important. And of course, many forces will prevent you from studying Talmud. Even yourself will be the strongest force that will prevent you from that. I mean, Talmud is almost impossible to understand if you don't have a rabbi who explains that to you. And there are some rabbis that might not be likely to help you studying Talmud because of how complicated and difficult it is to learn. However, if by chance you're able to find someone who helps you out on that, and there are so many videos and audios and websites and web pages that are available right now in so many languages that you can start studying Talmud. You don't need to complete a Masechet in one day. Actually, we who are Beinonim, regular people, would study Talmud 1 page a day, the most. Even there are certain programs that allow you to study Talmud not even one one daf, the whole, but maybe just 1 page. So definitely we need to study Talmud. We need to start and commit ourselves to learning Talmud. Maybe not only not with the end of taking it to practice, because the sages say that some rules in the Talmud are no longer I'm sorry, are no longer to be applied. However, that gives us not only identity, but also strength to continue studying. And the more you study Talmud, the more you will understand, yeah? And you will love what you will learn. If you're Jewish, and you will see the amazing ocean of wisdom which is available right there for you, just by opening the Talmud once a day and spending no more than 1 hour by listening to a shiur and following the lecture, by reading the Talmud yourself. I'm sure that you will learn a lot, and not only that, but it will also help you to keep this negative power away from your mind. So let us not waste more time and start studying Talmud. Thank you so very much for your attention. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you stay with me these few minutes, and we will continue. I'm sorry. We will continue to upload more videos about learning, about, sorry, both in English and Spanish, if possible in Hebrew. Yeah, hopefully. But by now, we're working on that. Have a wonderful week ahead. Have a terrific month of Tammuz. Maybe these months that come along, I mean Tammuz and Av, are somewhat difficult, but Hashem is always on. Everything is under Hashem's control all the time, so we don't have to be afraid on anything. Again, my name is Moshe Akiva. I am from Ciudad Colón in Costa Rica. Thank you for your attention. Have a terrific week ahead. Shalom Aleichem.